Welcome to Armchair Expert, experts on expert. I'm Dan Shepard. I'm joined by, what's your new name we just came up with last night, 2 nights ago?
Farty Pants?
No. It was a play on Monica. Monica.
Oh, that's
Monocle,
right.
Monica. Try to say that 3 times. Monica.
Monocle, Monica, moniker. No, I can't.
Yeah. Moniker, monocle, Monica.
Moniker, Monica, monocle. No, I can't do it.
It's very hard. Oh, right. We have a show to do. We have a glorious expert today by the name of David Sinclair. He is an Australian biologist and professor of genetics, best known for his research on aging and longevity mechanisms. Now, gang, I got interested in this off of a 60 Minutes episode.
You can't stop talking about it if I'm going to be honest.
Well, the stakes are high. We're talking about living forever.
I
can't think of a topic I'm more interested in than living forever.
I'd really like to.
Me too. Also, he has a PhD from the University of New South Wales, Sydney, and received the Australian Commonwealth Prize. He was hired at Harvard Medical School in 1999, and he has a great book called Lifespan: Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. And he has a new book coming this year called Just in Time: The Discovery of Sirtuin and How It Will Change Everything.
Did you ever, when you were a kid...
Fart on my fingertips and smell it?
Well, we all did that. Yeah. Just in Time.
Justin
is the first name.
Oh.
Time is the second.
No, Just in Time.
Yeah,
Your
that's
future
a thing.
husband.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Please enjoy Mr. David Sinclair. We get support from Quince.
So we've been talking about Quince a lot lately, and as we head into fall, it's the perfect time to reset your wardrobe with their amazing pieces. I think it's so fun to do when the seasons turn over, to just spruce up your wardrobe with a couple specials. And Quince is the place.
Totally. We're talking organic cotton, Mongolian cashmere, tailored chinos from just $60. Premium fit and quality you'd expect from a luxury brand designer. I love Quince. You know, I like it understated and subtle, and I like stuff that has high quality. And Quince checks all those boxes.
I love a lot of stuff from Quince. Honestly, they have incredible premium denim, which is very important for fall. It's pretty much all I wear in the fall is denim. And Quince has such a good selection of quality denim. Their stuff is so versatile, timeless, and built to last that you just grab every single day without thinking.
Right. And all of that for 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They go direct to ethical factories, cut out the middlemen, so you get all that quality without overpaying for it.
We love that. And they do way more than clothes. They have bedding, cookware, bath essentials, travel must-haves, same deal, and great quality.
Upgrade your everyday. Download the Quince app for app-exclusive offers or go to quince.com/Dax. Get free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada and the UK too. That's QUINCE.com/Dax.
We get support from Skims. Oh man, do I love Skims. I've been living in the Skims lightweight cotton collection all summer, and I have to tell you, getting dressed has become so easy. I just throw it on. It just feels right immediately, whether I'm grabbing coffee or I'm on the couch all day or I'm out, even going to dinner. The cotton is so lightweight and breathable, which in this heat is a non-negotiable. The cotton jersey t-shirt, I just need everyone to know about this one. This one hugs in all the right places. It's very soft and it still looks and fits the same after months of washing, which is very hard to do, I feel, with t-shirts. I've been wearing the black cotton jersey t-shirt with basically everything all summer long. It goes great with any patterned skirt or shorts or pants. I mean, anything truly. I believe that's probably my favorite piece from the cotton collection, but they also have great lightweight cotton thongs that are so comfortable and they're cute. That is a very, very hard mix to achieve, especially with undergarments. I feel if you can find some that are cute, but also comfortable and do the job, that is a win. And Skims has really, really figured that out with the lightweight cotton collection. Shop Skims cotton and all of my favorite pieces at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select Armchair Expert in the drop-down menu that follows.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Hey Dax, hey Monica.
How are
Hi.
you?
I'm great, actually. And how you doing?
Great. We are so flattered to have your ear to talk about this topic. I got to say, did this come from Adam Grant?
Yes, it sure did.
We wouldn't have a show at this point without Adam Grant. I'm just going to own that right now. Like, we see something that excites us and we think, well, we could never talk to that person. And we just email Adam Grant, then we're talking to him.
Yeah, Adam knows everybody. He's a real socialite.
Best email responder I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I was just checking. He's still married somehow. That's
I
impressive.
know.
That's exactly what I think every time he emails me back. I think, my God, how does he do it with the marriage and the curriculum and the whole nine? So are we talking to you? Are you in Boston?
I'm on sunny Cape Cod.
Ah, and are you getting roadside lobster sandwiches? That's my best memory of Cape Cod.
We are actually. Sedgwick Harbor, it's called. Whereabouts did you spend your time?
Well, I was in Boston and I got on a motorcycle and I rode out to the Cape. I don't know where I went. I don't know what stand I stopped at, but boy, does that stick out. Because I don't know that I love lobster before I had it on the side of the road like that. I think I thought it always tasted chlorine-y, but this was real nice.
Yeah, I still don't like it, but I eat it. And the French fries are good. But you got to have it, right? Otherwise, you don't blend in.
Now, I do wonder, let's just talk personal stuff for a minute because I find it'll be informative to why you study what you study and where you're at in life. But you're from Australia. You're from Sydney, yeah?
Correct.
And is it freaky to have these children that are American? I always imagine, like, I move to England, I meet an English gal, and then my son's got this charming accent I don't have. There must be some weird dissonance there.
It is interesting. So in my family, we have 3 accents. My wife has a German accent, and then there's me, and then the kids. But the kids are picking up some Australianisms. They say, I can't do it. Gonna have a bath.
Yeah. Do they say sweet as? Or that's more of a Kiwi thing, huh?
Yeah.
Sweet as?
We don't say that. We'd say, you're going down to the beach this Savo, mate. Pick up some beer.
Some beer. So when you look at your children, and I imagine as someone who at least minimally viewed this country as an other on the other side of the world, you wouldn't be human if you didn't have some judgments of the American national character. And when you see your children exemplifying some of those traits that you probably viewed differently from the outside, how do you make peace with all that? And is it something you laugh at or go like, this is concerning?
Well, it's both. I moved here because this is the freest place and you can be who you want to be. And it's a real meritocracy. And I've thrived here because of that. And actually, when the kids were young, it was perfect. You know, you can be whatever you want, do whatever you want. I mean, it's wonderful because when they become adults, true adults, you know, they believe they can do anything and change the world. But when there is part of a family unit, it's actually much harder, I think, to raise American kids.
Yeah, the individuality being prized and rewarded. And we write biopics of people who are staunch individuals. And in the face of consensus said, fuck you, like that those are our heroes, right? More than I think people recognize anywhere else in the world do we perv out on that. We love it.
That is true. And so as a parent, if you say, well, you know, this is what dad thinks and you can't have, you know, this soda or whatever, they're like, screw you. I do what I want. This is America. That's always been tough. No, but this country, you know, I left my family and my best friends behind to come here. And I was supposed to only come here for 2 years. But I fell in love with it, especially in a town like Boston where, you know, you can thrive on just being intellectual and you don't have to hide it because most people around you, even on the train or on the T, are smarter than you are. So actually,
right.
It's the opposite. I went from Australia where people didn't want to talk about anything but sport and the weather. And well, that's an exaggeration, but that's typical. And then you come to Boston and people are talking about artificial intelligence and viruses and all this stuff on trains. And I thought, okay, this is pretty cool. This is like the Athens of ancient Greece. I like this place.
Yeah, and I wonder if you appreciate this. So I'm from a Detroit suburb, and in Detroit, is similar to many, many American cities, the ultimate status achievement is just wealth. That's like how you go to alpha status. So, you know, it's just very celebrated and talked about. And I moved here to LA and I'd be in the line at the grocery store and I'm like, there's 5 dudes ahead of me. 3 are homeless and 2 are billionaires. They've created TV shows and I don't know which is which. And I think there's something very beautiful about that. I came to really love that about LA. It's just like, you don't know who has the status or the value or the what.
Right. Actually, it's probably the worst dressed person who's the billionaire who has their own couple of jets. Yeah, I do love that too.
Yeah, and then of course the clerks then have to give everyone some monicum of respect because it could, again, the person could have created 2.5 Men or something, and they'll probably hear about it. So I just, there's some kind of leveling of the playing field, given that that's our industry, and I dig it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about, did you study gerontology? Was that your major originally?
Yeah, I don't call it gerontology. That's more doctors treating the elderly. I'm in a field that's really just blossomed since I became an adult, which is longevity research, or sometimes we call it aging research. Just make sure you don't call it anti-aging research.
Okay, because then you're an ageist?
No, it's got a bad connotation because anti-aging, there's a lot of snake oil out there. And
Yes.
we scientists at these universities are trying to say we're something different than that. And, we're publishing these papers in the world's top scientific journals. We don't want to get mixed up with people who are selling stuff on the internet that's, just made up. We're aging researchers, not anti-aging researchers.
Yeah, and you are shouldered with the history, since the dawn of Homo sapiens sapien 150,000 years ago, we've always wanted to live longer, and every attempt to do so
Has failed.
was erroneous at best. So you're coming into something pretty deep in, and you're saying, no, now we actually have an understanding of it, and we actually can make some moves, and it's just hard for people to shrug off, as you say, all the snake oil salesmen that preceded you.
Yeah, well, it's been an uphill battle for sure to convince the average person who comes in with this healthy skepticism, and even doctors. I'm an academic at Harvard University. Most people there are trained in the traditional way, which is we don't care about aging. That's a natural process. We should just accept it. And when bad stuff happens, we get diseases, then we apply medicine. Whereas I'm saying, hold on, let's not wait till people get too sick to be able to fix things. But also let's understand why they get sick in the first place. Right? A 10-year-old doesn't get heart disease or Alzheimer's. Why is that? And if you could make an 80-year-old be as physically fit and resilient as a 10-year-old, would they still get those diseases? I absolutely think that they wouldn't. And that's why I think it's an important approach to medicine. But traditional medicine, they'll attack cancer, heart disease, and Alzheimer's with billions of dollars. But as soon as you say aging, they go, oh, that's natural, which is BS because these other diseases are natural too.
Yes, a cancer cell is as natural as anything else in the body, right? It's just a cell that's dividing and replicating. And I would say, yeah, there's this kind of implied vanity to the pursuit, right? Like you must be interested in it because either you're just vain or spiritually you can't accept the reality that we're all going out in a body bag. There's all these weird implications.
That's also an obstacle. Yeah, Dax, you're very intuitive that way. And that's been a huge obstacle. And even philanthropists who we survive on their donations, many of them, I think Bill Gates would be in this category, even though they're intrigued with this topic, they're afraid that they'll be perceived as, being selfish. But if Bill Gates is listening, I want to explain the situation.
He's
God.
listening.
He's
listening.
our biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yes. So here's the thing. Let me start with something personal. I'm not afraid of death. Absolutely not. I fly a lot. I've almost crashed many times. I don't even get worried about that. I'm fine with it. I'm not trying to live for 150 years, though. It's a good experiment. I wouldn't mind trying. So let's just make that clear. I'm not doing this for myself. What I am doing it for is I think this is the best way to approach medicine, that it can have the biggest impact for the dollar. And it's actually been calculated that the cost of one of these medicines, if we're successful, would give us an extra year of life for about $7,000, whereas a pacemaker costs society a few $100,000 and some go up to millions. So this is an economic solution. It makes social sense because we don't want people to be sick. And look at today's society. We know that elderly are dying a lot more frequently from even, COVID-19. So all of that makes sense. And that's why I wrote my book, is that, I could speak to small numbers of people and I kept saying the same thing over and over again. So I said, okay, I'll put it down on paper and hopefully reach more people and try to help them see things from my angle.
Well, to me, it seems like you're in the pursuit of the ultimate upstream solution for all these things, which should appeal to everyone on some level. Now, I'm going to start by saying I have not had a biology class since 1999 in college. So my understanding could be flawed. In fact, I'm sure you'll point out some misconceptions. But I have some very general questions based on my very general and aging knowledge of biology. When it was explained to me in biology how the body goes through mitosis, right? It either goes through meiosis, which is sexual reproduction, or mitosis, where it's creating what I was told is an exact mirror copy of itself. That the cell divides and then RNA comes in and it reads the DNA and then it takes off and it creates a protein and then it ends up creating the exact same cell. Or do I have it right thus far?
Well, it's never exact. You can't make a perfect copy of anything easily. But yeah, that's the principle of life.
In theory, that.
Well, in theory, but there are mistakes that accumulate.
Right, which is where we'll get to with your research, which I find so fascinating. But just right on the surface, if you know nothing but that, or when I was 19 learning that in a biology class, my first thought was, well, then how could we ever age? If my body's making exact copies of every cell, then why do those cells change shape, elasticity, all these different things? What happens in between that replication and what I see, I guess, the phenotypical results of it being aging? How does that happen?
Yeah, well, the problem is that there's this thing called entropy and things just fall apart. You know, everything around us falls apart unless we rebuild it. Now, biological organisms shouldn't be alive for more than 30 seconds, right? If we stopped breathing or if we took a cyanide pill, we'd be gone. But what we are very good at is using food, mostly, other organisms we consume, to overcome entropy, at least temporarily. You can't do it forever, even the universe can't. But at least for 80 years, a human being can repair itself and rebuild things and expand and divide cells, like you said. But it's not perfect. And it could be a lot better if there was evolutionary pressure on our species that we had to live 300 years. Let's say we never caught a disease, we never had a saber-toothed tiger kill us. We would have evolved the lifespan of a whale, which can be 300 years, or a Greenland shark, 500 years, or a tree, 2,000. But we didn't. We usually died in our 40s from infection or war or starvation. So our bodies are not evolved to live much beyond that, unfortunately. But it's biologically possible to live, I think, for many thousands of years. It's not against the law of biology or even physics, because we're consuming energy and using it to rebuild.
Well, yeah, minimally, if you're just looking at a tree. I remember walking through the redwoods and they bisected a tree and they're showing you, oh, Jesus was alive here on this ring. And you get a real scope of like, wow, well, that's possible. A living organism could have been here when Jesus was here and now is still on my hike.
Yeah, well, it will be possible for us as a species if civilization lasts long enough for us to figure it out. But I do think we're on the cusp of finally figuring out why these organisms are able to live so long. And you're right, it's got to do with a copying process, the ability to maintain the information that you have when you're born and keep that going for decades, if sometimes for thousands of years. But there's a nuance to that, right? You're talking about copying the DNA, whereas the new theory that's coming out of my lab and a few others is that there's another type of information that we lose over time that's even more important for our long-term survival and health.
Is that the epigenome?
It is. Yes.
Okay, so really quick, just to give a second grade explanation of this. So your DNA is literally the recipe, and anyone who's baked anything knows that you could have all the perfect ingredients measured out correctly, but you do got to bake it, and that's kind of nurture. Some things can happen in the cooking process, and you don't necessarily get what you want. But we have a kind of complicated system. But in general, it is your recipe that makes you the human you are that you see in the mirror. And then now on top, or this is how it was explained to me, again, I probably got it wrong, but on top of the DNA is the epigenome, and it's basically deciding what's going to be read from the recipe list. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you're doing extraordinarily well for someone who hasn't done biology in 21 years.
Okay, good. So now this epigenome will look at this, nearly infinite long of strand of DNA, and it's deciding what it's going to read and not read. So over time, this epigenome collects errors. It has a lifetime of its own, right? And by the time you're 70 or 80, it's actually not reading your DNA efficiently. Is that what's happening?
That's what we see. It's a pretty new idea in biology, but it's catching fire. And I think within 5 years, it's going to be standard dogma in the field, is my prediction. So you're describing it, Dax, as layers, where the DNA is a strand, which is about 6 feet long per cell. We have 26 trillion cells in our body, so there's a lot of it. You can go to the moon and back, I think, at least 8 times. It's a lot of it. But it's not really layers. It's actually got to think of it in 3 dimensions. The DNA isn't just a string pulled out. It's wrapped up in bundles and loops. And the loops are where the genes that are on stay on. And then the bundles are like a hose reel on your driveway. You spool it up, or like a fishing rod, you spool it up, and then those genes stay off. And every cell, literally every cell, has a different program set out. So the DNA is in different patterns of loops and bundles.
That the difference between your eyeball and your earlobe and your liver, right? Every single cell has the full recipe, but only some percentage of that recipe is being used to create that exact cell.
Yeah, and it has to be that way for life on Earth because we start out as one cell.
Mm-hmm.
And that DNA has to be copied. But if we didn't have the epigenome, we'd just be a giant ball of egg cells.
Right, right.
We would never be an organism. So the only way to do that is to institute this program, like software in a computer, to say, all right, you're going to be a brain cell. And when you become a brain cell, you're going to stay that way for 80 years. The problem is that over time, that instruction booklet, the recipe, becomes badly read. So think of it as a chef. So the recipe is still largely intact in each cell, but the chef comes along and the chef's now lost her eyesight and she's throwing in the wrong ingredients. And instead of this beautiful souffle, it looks like a POS. So it's not working well anymore. And we see that now that we think we understand what's going on. We work on mice in the lab. We treat them as kindly as we can. We can change the epigenome and cause aging to accelerate, and we can measure it. There's now a DNA clock we can measure, an epigenetic clock actually. We can take it forwards and backwards now, which is, to me, now that we can do that, we are beyond what anybody in history has been able to do. I'm not saying I'm a pharaoh or anything, but everyone who tried to change the course of aging was unsuccessful. But in the last few years, my colleagues and I have done that. We can take aging forwards and backwards.
I was introduced to this, and I got to applaud 60 Minutes because my understanding comes solely from that episode. So anything I'm getting right, I got to credit them. But they, of course, in the episode I saw, they were talking a lot with George Church. Do you know George? Are you guys enemies? Or do you have beef? Are you friends? Are you colleagues?
We are very, very good friends. We collaborate all the time. And this reversal of aging, he was a great collaborator on that project.
Great. So in that segment, he said that we as a species have executed this in 8 different species other than ourselves, right? We've done mice, and they're working with dogs now already. Thus far, it's proven consistent, the results over these 8 different species that this technology's been tried on. Is that expanded since I saw it?
Well, if he was talking about gene therapy, yeah, it's working in a variety of animals. And there's even gene therapy working in humans now for the eye, restoring blindness. But aging technology or longevity technology, it ranges from taking a pill, or in the case of mice, putting in their food or their water, all the way to human clinical trials where there have been some really interesting success stories. Now, we don't have drugs on the market that your doctor can prescribe to you for aging yet, and in large part because aging isn't yet considered a treatable condition. But yeah, we've seen that this likely translates to humans. And it's not just pills and potions that I'm talking about. We can look at the genes that control longevity in things like yeast cells and worms and flies and mice. And we have those same genes in our body. And the different variants, say between you and me, can actually predict how long we're going to live, in part.
Wow. Okay. So could you give me a quick history of our breakthroughs leading up to this? Because I have to imagine the fact that you're behind the helm during the biggest breakthrough in all this, if it doesn't make you question whether or not we're in a simulation, I think it should. I mean, I think it's very crazy, right, that you and I and Monica in our lifetimes are witnessing this.
Well, there have been a lot. We know that the time in the womb and early life actually impacts you many decades later. And that's not the genetic influence, that's the epigenetic influence. So that's important to know. Actually, only about 20 to 25% of your lifespan is determined by your parents' genomes, by the DNA. The rest is epigenetic, which is good news because it means how we live our lives, whether we're exercising, we're eating the right things, that can have a massive impact, more than even your genes.
And there's some proof, am I wrong? We've had a couple different trauma experts on that have talked about that the epigenome can be passed down. This really kind of flips the whole Darwinian paradox. So, right, so early evolutionary biologists were thinking about it backwards, right? They were going, oh, a giraffe's neck is long because the parents stretched to reach that leaf and then somehow passed on that stretching to their offspring. And then we concluded, no, you can't alter your genes in your lifetime, no matter how much you stretch towards a leaf. But now it weirdly is looking like it's going backwards, right? Like that the accumulation of this epigenome may be transferred on and that your lifetime behavior may end up getting transferred, which is fascinating.
Yeah. DNA is not your destiny. Keep that in mind. It's the most liberating thing you can think of. But it's pretty much agreed upon by all scientists that you inherit some of your health and longevity from your parents. Actually, the male sperm has the biggest influence on people's life, by the way.
How so?
I think by recollection, it was the age of the sperm has an impact on how long you live more than the mother's egg.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How does a man cultivate
it's bad
really...
to have an old sperm. That's how I recall.
Okay. You want fresh sperm on the table.
Yeah, I can see a lot of guys running to the freezer right now to store some away. So I have a small lab in Australia, and what we did there was we made mice or rats, I forget which one. We made them fat, and then these were mums, and they gave birth to offspring. And those offspring from the fat mums were much more prone to diabetes than the mothers that were thin when they were pregnant. And that's probably true for us as well. And we often don't think about that as how we can influence the future health of our kids by what we eat.
And that would have been a type 2 diabetes if I had to use the human kind of analogy, right?
Exactly.
So you made the mouse have diabetes through fucking up its diet, right? It wasn't born with a disposition not to make insulin in its pancreas.
Right. It's type 2 diabetes. So the body wasn't able to take up the sugar and it put on more weight, became obese much more easily.
And then pass that on.
Yes. Yeah. It is amazing. And that's what the epigenome does. But you can counter it. So we have longevity molecules that we've developed that we could now treat these offspring and overcome what bad things the mother did to the offspring.
Wow, fucking mind-blowing. Now, so if I'm understanding you correctly, so aging in essence is that epigenome just does a bad job at reading that DNA as it gets older, or it's not reading the stuff we would want it to prioritize, and that the technology that you guys are playing with is that you're kind of erasing in all these defects or imperfections that accumulate over a lifetime so that it'll go back to reading the DNA as if it's fresh.
Yep, that's exactly it. We think of it as a reset button. Now, we spend the better part of 20 years figuring out why aging probably happens, that the epigenome's involved. And one of the breakthroughs that was made by actually a good friend of mine, Steve Horvath at UCLA, is that there's a particular chemical that accumulates on our DNA as we get older called methylated DNA. And he found, he's a mathematician, he found that if he could plot where these were changing, he could predict the age of a person.
Oh, wow.
Think of it like plaque that it glums onto your teeth over time if you don't brush your teeth. That's what happens to our DNA. And this so-called DNA methylation pattern very accurately predicts your biological age, not your chronological or birthday age. And what's interesting is you can speed that up by smoking and being overweight and vice versa, which, first of all, that was an important breakthrough in the field. And then what we realized was that we could use some genes from embryos to reset that clock, to get the plaque off the teeth or off the DNA and basically restore the clock back to a much younger age. And we're hoping to publish this soon. A lot of what's in my book isn't actually yet published. which is an unusual situation. I didn't think.
And in the book is Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. That's the one you're referring to?
Yeah. And so I was writing the book, and my student texted me a picture of an eye that had its age reversed from an old mouse to a young mouse. And the nerves were growing back, and these other mice were getting their eyesight back. And I wrote that down with my co-author, Matt LaPlante, who's a good friend and brilliant writer. And so in an unusual situation, a scientist, myself, was able to record what it was like to make a discovery for everyone to experience. And only now, because it takes a couple of years to get this work published in top journals, it's only now seemingly going to come out soon.
I mean, it's so exciting. I try to bridle my enthusiasm about the future because so often we get a little too excited. But I remember learning about CRISPR and going like, well, that's that. I will never have a disease as long as I live.
Yeah.
So is my understanding correct that early on into this research, it became obvious that you could kind of erase these layers of the epigenome that would allow the body to start producing these cells as if they were 20 years old or whatever, but that in fact it was possible to erase too much of it, and you're basically having the cell do what it does in vitro or early on, where it would make the organs grow out of control. All this like the burst of growth you get as you're becoming an adult, that you could go too far back and get this kind of hyper organ growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So that's the key step that we figured out. A big breakthrough around the same time as my friend Steve Horvath was made by a Japanese scientist, probably the most famous Japanese scientist currently, Shinya Yamanaka, discovered that there are 4 genes in early life when you fertilize an egg that can be put into adult cells to erase their adulthood and get them back to being a stem cell that you can turn into anything. So that now we use that in the clinic for people. You could take your skin cell, Monica, and turn that into a stem cell, and then turn that, if I wanted to, I could make an egg and a sperm and fertilize that and make a new copy of you if I wanted to.
Please do. We need more than one of her. We've run out of hers.
Yeah, you can't have too many Monicas, that's for sure. But we could make new skin. We could make nerve cells, put them back into your brain if you had Parkinson's. So that's amazing technology. And rightly so, Shinya Yamanaka won the Nobel Prize for that in 2012. But what I don't believe he realized was that these same genes can drive aging backwards. But like you said, Dax, you can't just throw these 4 genes into a mouse or a human and expect good things to happen, because you'll just have a giant ball of stem cells and probably the world's biggest tumor. It's very dangerous to play with that. But what one of my students, brilliant student, Yuan Cheng Lu, he realized that instead of using 4 of the Yamanaka factors, if you just left out the dangerous one called MYC, which is a known cancer-causing gene, then the other 3 Yamanaka factors, they took the cells back in age, but not so far that it caused any trouble. And so now we could wind the clock back in a safe way. And now we're having a lot of fun being able to see what happens when you reverse aging in complex parts of the body, like the eye.
Oh.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. You've heard us talk about BetterHelp for a while, but I don't know that we've ever talked about how much people love this service when they use it. BetterHelp has an average live therapy session rating of 4.9 out of 5 based on over 1.7 million client session reviews. And you can check out the reviews yourself at betterhelp.com/reviews to see how much they love BetterHelp. Knowing that kind of service feedback from real people speaks for itself. I'm a huge proponent of therapy, as we've talked about before. I've learned so many things about myself that I believe truly only an outside, objective person could help me come to. BetterHelp makes it easy to get started. Answer a few questions, get matched with a therapist based on your needs, and switch therapists at any time if it's not the right fit. See the reviews, see what stands out, and see if BetterHelp is right for you. Visit betterhelp.com/Dax. That's betterhelp.com/Dax. This podcast is brought to you by Squarespace. We've talked before about Rob building our website on Squarespace, and I bring it up again because it's a perfect example of what they do well. Rob had all the pieces, the content, the vision, the ideas, but he needed something to actually take all that and make it public facing. And Squarespace was that bridge. Maybe you're in the same spot. You've been developing something, a business, a skill set, a body of work, and it's been private. It's been yours. But at some point, you're ready to put it out there, and that transition from private to public can feel like a huge leap. Squarespace makes it feel like a step. Beautiful templates, built-in SEO, email campaigns, scheduling, analytics, everything you need to go from "I've been working on this" to "here it is, come find me." All in one place, no code, no stitching together a bunch of different tools. So if you've been sitting on something and waiting for the right moment, this might be it. Head to squarespace.com/DAX for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use offer code DAX to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. This episode is supported by Helix. All right, let's talk about something we both really care deeply about: sleep.
It's the most important thing. I've had my Helix mattress for years now, and I genuinely think it's one of the best investments you can make for your home. Mine still feels just like it did when I first got it.
Well, that's the thing. It's not one of those mattresses that caves in after 6 months. These things are built to last. And, I'm a side sleeper. I ordered a side sleeper and I get hot, so I have cooling. And I can't tell you how much more comfortable it is to be in there, not sweating and tossing and turning.
Cooling is really important. I've read that you're supposed to sleep a little bit cold. So I also have cooling. And they have over 20 models, so it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. You just go take their quiz and they match you to what actually works for your body.
Plus, they've got cooling upgrades, which heading into summer, non-negotiable.
Truly.
Go to helixsleep.com/armchair for 20% off. That's helixsleep.com/armchair for 20% off. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/armchair.
Thank you to our presenting sponsor, HP, for supporting this episode. Parent, you've got enough on your back-to-school list right now. Ink cartridges do not need to be on it. They just don't. The HP Smart Tank printer uses a refillable ink tank and comes with up to 3 years of ink included. It's the last printer you'll ever need. To learn more, search HP Smart Tank.
That makes me think of the early kind of T-cell treatments in that it was like, so I was on one for arthritis. It's kind of, you're just carpet bombing the immune system, right? So then you're opening yourself up to infection and all these different things, but they've slowly started kind of pinpointing which T-cells they want to turn off, and it's getting narrower their focus, and it feels like that's similar to this, where it's like just honing in on exactly what we want to be activated and not.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of luck involved, right? It didn't have to work. But I was talking to someone who's, I don't name drop, but this is someone who you'd know, a wealthy individual. I was speaking to him the other day, and he said, how is it possible that there are these 3 genes? This is like a wormhole discovery. It shouldn't be possible for humans to do this. Why is it possible? And my explanation to him was that I think a lot of species still have this system. You chop off a tail of a lizard, it grows back. You chop off the limb of a salamander, it grows back. I think that life has had the ability to regenerate, but we've lost that ability, and now we're rediscovering how to use it.
Oh my God.
This is so crazy.
It's so fascinating.
But can you be very precise into how far back you go? Like at some point we can be like, I just want to be 25 looking for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Is that on the horizon? Can I pick my age?
I don't see why not. We've built the system that we've used in mice at least, and hopefully in the next 2 years we'll put into patients who have eye disease. But we built the system so you can turn it on and off very easily. So in theory, you could go back as far as you want and then stop and then age out 10 years and go back another 10 years and keep repeating. Can
I ask how that actually happens process-wise? So are you taking some cells out and then adding some stuff like CRISPR type stuff and then putting it back in the body, and then that cell in itself replicates and starts taking over? What are the mechanics of it?
That's been done, but that's way too complicated. What we do is very simple. We have a domesticated virus called an AAV, which is used in patients in the eye and in other areas. It's a very safe virus. And it's a delivery vehicle for genes. And that's how CRISPR is being delivered into people. Now, we don't use CRISPR. What we're doing is adding in those 3 embryonic genes. They have 3 names, short for OSK. And these OSK genes are the reset button. And all we do is, let's say we want to turn the age of the eye back from a mouse that's 1 year old and blind back to a 6-month-old eye that can see. What we do is we take, I think it's 10 to the 14th virus particles that are carrying the OSK genes, and we just one injection into the eye, they go to the retina, and then they sit there. Okay, so now you've got this transgenic, genetically modified eye, but then we've built it so that if you just take an antibiotic that's very safe, you've probably, doxycycline, you can take it for malaria. We turn it on with an antibiotic. So when we give the mice 3 weeks of antibiotic in their water or their food, they get their eyesight back. Then we stop the antibiotic and they can see.
Monica.
Oh my God.
Do you feel like we're dreaming a little bit?
Yeah, we definitely are.
Yeah.
We think we're living in my dad's simulation, and it's proving more and more and more to be true. But I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but there's fear around this, right?
Oh yeah, hold on.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I got a whole
lots to cover.
section of that. Before I ask that, I have this one question, and we've got to have some pretty awesome biologists on this podcast, Dawkins being one of them, where I pose this question. It still boggles me, is why isn't there anything in the archaeological record? Why isn't there any animal that mutated to just not age? It just seems like something that would have to have happened numbers-wise. If there's something we're now doing in the lab, it seems like it could have existed over the millennia. Why hasn't anything ever mutated into living forever?
Well, first of all, there are species that have what's called negligible senescence, which means they really don't age. Trees, obviously, there are some trees that are 5,000 years. They still have seeds that seem young. Lobsters, right? New England, where I'm at right now, these lobsters just get bigger and bigger, and they seem to be just as healthy as when they were young. And there are so lots of examples of those kinds of animals. But are they immortal? Probably not. No one's ever kept a lobster for 1,000 years in a tank. We don't know. But there is a reason why we tend not to have species that live forever. And the reason is that evolution builds what's necessary, and that's it. And it is not necessary to be immortal to replace yourself. By the time you've had 2 or 3 kids, you're done for. So I just turned 50, so I'm basically now expendable. My kids are almost grown up.
Well, what's made sense to me is obviously it almost couldn't happen in females in the way that we've conventionally thought of female reproduction having a window. But men, I see 90-year-olds getting women pregnant in the news. It is conceivable, at least, that the male of that species would be incentivized to spread that mutated gene where it never ages.
Yeah, but once you've got children, they can go ahead and spread it. The force of natural selection that keeps you alive declines with time, with aging. And there's a cost to being immortal. Energetically, if you're only putting your energy into living forever, you're probably going to breed very slowly. And, think about whales, think about trees, that they tend to breed very slowly, whereas a little mouse that'll live 2 years and a rabbit pumping out the babies. So there's a trade-off between longevity and reproduction that you have to get right. And that's determined on your environment and how likely you are to die.
Yeah.
One interesting thing about women is, so no men have ever died in childbirth that I'm aware of. And women used to die often in childbirth. So it's a dangerous business for women to have kids. And so you find that the ovary is one of the first things to age out in a woman.
To protect them from dying in childbirth.
That's one reason we
interesting.
think why there's a difference between males and females. But interestingly, we've found that by turning on a set of longevity genes that we work on, we can actually, in animals such as mice and probably horses, we think, we can reverse the age of the ovary, and now those animals become fertile again.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
We just published this, if anyone wants to look it up. And so we think that the old idea that women run out of eggs needs to be re-examined.
Yeah, and so instead of freezing eggs, which is commonplace now, maybe the treatment would just be new eggs at 45. Is that what you're
well, if the mouse results are true for humans, a 45-year-old could take a month's worth of pills and produce very healthy eggs, either for IVF or natural birth.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Wowzers. Okay, I think I have this elementary understanding that you're going to go back to an earlier state of the cell by erasing some of this epigenome, but how does the cell know what it was?
Well, that's the $1,000,000 question, and we're chasing that right now. We call this thing the observer because there's a very famous mathematician from MIT, Claude Shannon. I'm a big disciple of his. Back in the 1930s and 40s, he was basically figuring out how to maintain information. And he was talking about radio signals, but today, basically, the internet is built on his theory. And what he said was, okay, if we're going to have a perfect signal at the other end, we need a backup copy so that if we lose a little bit of it, we get the full copy. And we call this the TCP/IP protocol of the internet. And it's why we can't pretend that we didn't get that email. It always comes in now. And that's because of Claude Shannon, right? And so he called this the observer. We'd call it these days probably a backup copy, hard drive, or, even a hard drive is old fashioned now. But you know what I mean? So we think that there's somewhere in the cell the equivalent of this observer, a backup copy of youthfulness. But we don't know where and how it's stored, but it must be there. Because here's a new thing that we discovered in my lab that we'll publish soon, is that these marks on the DNA, this scum, this plaque that accumulates, it's not just 5 or 6, it's about 20,000 different changes that occur across the big 6-foot strand of DNA in each cell. Now, when we reset the cell, we had a look recently, how many of those little sites got reversed and by how much? And what we discovered was that pretty much all of those many thousand got reset nearly perfectly. And the little sites that changed a little bit got reversed a little bit. And the others that went crazy and went the other way got reversed back to where they were. So there's not just a message somewhere in the cell that says this piece of DNA needs to change. It's by how much as well. So there's 2 types of information we're looking for. Now, if you want me to speculate what is the observer physically, and I'll probably be proven wrong in history, but I think it's probably a chemical that is on our DNA that we haven't found yet, or we know it exists, but we've ignored it for the last 50 years. Or it could be something else, like you mentioned RNA, Dax, this other type of genetic material like coronavirus has as its genetic material. Maybe there's RNA that's stuck between the 2 strands of our DNA, and that says this is a region that needs to be reset. And maybe the information in that RNA strand is telling the cell that it needs to be fully reset, not just a little bit, and which direction as well. But yeah, I think that, if we talk again in a year or 2, I might have the answer for you. But that to me is the one thing I need to figure out before I die.
Yeah, a Herculean task, I'd label it. Now, so even for people who are maybe bumping on like living forever, there was other stuff in that same 60 Minutes piece with your buddy, Dr. Church, where he was saying that we could make changes to our DNA that would virtually make it impossible to get any virus.
Oh, sure.
Are you familiar? Yeah. Can you walk us through the mechanics of that? Because I think that's something that could really appeal to people without the kind of ethical dilemma that we'll get into in a second. But yeah, how could that work?
Well, I don't know what's on George's mind, but off the top of my head, I could imagine ways to engineer our cells so that we block all of the receptors so they can't get in, or we engineer ourselves to have a natural immunity against all viruses. And we have very strong antiviral mechanisms that take a while to ramp up, but we could engineer ourselves to turn them on at will. There's plenty of ways. So for instance, HIV gets into cells through a certain receptor called CCR5. And there are naturally people who don't have this receptor, a few percent, and they're luckily, unable to be infected and get AIDS. Did he tell you about genetically modifying that baby in China?
No, tell me that.
So the doctor who got into a lot of trouble, he made a CRISPR modification of twin girls. And what he did was he got rid of this CCR5 gene. And so they cannot catch HIV, which all sounds great, but it's pretty useless because the chance of catching HIV is very low. I think it's like 1 in 1,000 or less. But the chance of this going wrong, we know very little about what this procedure does long term. We don't even know what this CCR5 receptor does as well. So I think the risks were way higher than the benefits. I think if he was going to do that, I'll just go out on a limb. If you're going to do it, Why not change genes for longevity or heart disease or Alzheimer's? These are things that you definitely are going to have to suffer through.
Yeah. You stated that you have slowed down aging in mice, but you've also made mice smarter. You've made mice run twice as far.
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like being you, where it's like you have this idea and it probably seems harebrained at first, and then you figure out some way to execute it. And then just watching the results must be a very unique experience, to say the least.
Well, what usually happens in my lab is I ask somebody to do something, right? I'm useless. I wouldn't know my way around a mouse if you gave me one. But I have these ideas, and I have a very smart group of 20 or so PhDs who will often do what I ask them to do. Not always. And so when I say, let's just try making a mouse run twice as far, usually they'll say, David, that's crazy. I got more important things to worry about than doing that. And then I just keep pestering, and 3 months later they try it. I'm not always right, but I do find occasionally I am. And when I am right, it's a lot of fun. And in this case of the mice running a long time, what actually happened was the scientist, Michael Bonkowski, he called me up and he said, David, we've got a problem. He said, the old mice kept running so long that the treadmill has stopped running. It broke.
Oh my God.
You had a treadmill issue.
Yeah, a little thin treadmill. And I said, oh no, we've wasted 2 months of our time. And it turns out the treadmill didn't break. It's just that the software that was written for it never expected a mouse to run so far. And these were old mice, and they were outpacing even the young ones.
Oh, wow. Okay, I don't know. This has nothing to do with anything, but you've mentioned now several of your students who have proven themselves to be geniuses or pioneers in the field. What is the interpersonal experience of recognizing one of your students who's been looking to you for guidance? There must be a moment, right, where it clicks like, this student is smarter than I am. I've now got to transfer this relationship into you go further and tell me how this works. What is that dynamic like?
Well, that's the best part about being a scientist, is to have your trainees go off and do bigger and better things than you do. And it's very easy to be smarter than me. I'm just a kid from Sydney who has an imagination. I don't actually do the really hard work. The work that I did when I was a student was with yeast cells, making beer, and we did make beer. But we also discovered why they grow old. But what they do is really difficult. I love the turning point. Typically, a student goes through various stages of grief and anger and whatever, denial in my lab. And they get broken down and we rebuild them into the real scientists they can be. I mean, it's really true. A grad program at Harvard is like West Point training, because most students who come into Harvard have been the smartest people in their class.
Yeah.
And they come in, not all, but there's often some arrogance like, oh, I'm here, everybody. Let me win a Nobel Prize and show you how it's done.
Yeah.
And then after about 2 years of them failing, and I had this actually with this brilliant student, Warren Cheng, he was about to give up because the reprogramming was just making the cells into cancer and not stopping at youthfulness. And I said, don't give up. Everybody goes through this. Let's try one more thing. And we did. We did the eye. And it worked. And this is time and time again. Really, I find I have two jobs. One is to put them on challenging questions, because it's very easy to answer a basic question. If you know what the answer to the question is already, it's not worth doing. You want to do something that has a 10% chance of working or less. And
Which, by the way, gets harder and harder in science the more we learn. It's just like an escalating issue.
Right. Well, that's why we took on reversing aging, because there's not other things you can do. But then they start to hate you because they think they've wasted their lives and they should have gone somewhere else. And David's crazy and he's got no good ideas. But then they break, because then they get this beautiful result where they go, oh, now I know what David was talking about. And then they blossom. Then they go off and they can do amazing things. And
you've just described the exact trajectory for every actor in Hollywood, which is like they're the hottest person in their town. And then they got here and they're like, fuck, everyone's hot? What am I going to do now? And then they got to figure out what's unique and beautiful about them.
Yeah. But you got to have resilience in both industries, right? Because it's tough, really tough.
Yeah.
They'll break you if you don't keep getting out of bed every day.
Okay, now as I was watching you speak today in numerous interviews, I could not help but draw the parallel between a book I'm currently reading about Oppenheimer. You're at the cusp of this really monumental scientific breakthrough, and it's going to have these humongous implications. And to watch how Oppenheimer, and surrounded by all these very thoughtful, intelligent people, were both solving the problem and, when free time permitted, evaluating the downstream consequences of it. And in that situation, of course, we're up against the fact that had not they done it, someone else would do it. So that's just an imperative that they're working under. It's like all your ethical dilemmas aside, best we have the technology, not everyone else. I couldn't help but think that you guys are on this amazing path, and then there will be all this societal outcome from it that I wonder, when you're working on this, what percentage of your brain power is dedicated to that, to the downstream outcome of all this?
Well, more than you might think. So the last third of my book is about the implications and what the future could look like if we don't do anything and if we do succeed in what we're doing. And actually, in my view, the future looks much better if we're successful. It's not all good, right? There are some people you don't want to live a lot longer, and politicians are getting older and older, and there's all that. But the overarching benefit to society if we utilize this is that, who wouldn't want to spend an extra year with their parents and prevent them from getting cancer in their 80s? This is what we're talking about in reality, about drugs that help people live healthier and more productive lives. And so I think a lot about it, but I also do think about the downsides as well, about population growth and what are we going to do about jobs if there aren't enough to go around. So I'm working with mathematicians right now over in London, trying to actually build mathematical models to understand what society will look like and even the impact on the economy of the globe.
Well, first and foremost, let's acknowledge that if it all comes to market, within the first decade, it's certainly going to favor people with money. All medical advances do favor first those of means.
Well, yeah, it's similar to the Wright brothers in that if you wanted to fly on a plane, it wasn't cheap. It's still not cheap, but it was incredibly expensive. And cars as well, the rich had the cars. It's a little bit different in this case in that the drugs that we're developing, some of them, the pills, don't have to be expensive. They could be actually quite cheap. So we're about to start a clinical trial to treat COVID-19, for example. And we are, if we're lucky, very lucky, in a year, that drug could be on the market and it would be sold for, I don't know, let's make up a number, $20 a pill, maybe 100, but that's not outrageous, right? And then we're also looking at trying to get it quickly over the counter so everybody in the planet can have it. Now, if that plan works, then it's going to be great. First of all, we'll have this possibly 5 to 10 years earlier than we otherwise would, but also because it's being used for an infectious disease, you cannot charge tens of thousands of dollars for it. No one would buy it.
Yeah, and in fact, most of the downstream treating the symptoms cures are horrendously expensive. I'm on different arthritis medicine. I don't think one of them's been under $1,000 a month,
The reversal of aging as we do it in the eye right now, that will be expensive. And it's unavoidable because gene therapy right now, there are so many hurdles and safety issues you have to go through just to get a drug on the market. It's probably close to $700 million. So that's fair enough. But here's the good news, is that I don't think it has to stay a gene therapy. There are about 4 of us in the world who do this age reversal right now. And we talk all the time, every day. It's a bit like Oppenheimer and his crowd, actually. And we are working very hard to figure out how can we do this with a combination of safe molecules. And eventually, it should be a pill that can do this.
Okay. So since seeing that 60 Minutes thing, I've probably dedicated 300 hours of my free time thinking about, because I'm a writer by trade and I'm always thinking of movie concepts. And so I can't help but funnel it into that thought process. And one of the things I thought of is like, okay, in the world where this is widely available and you can basically revert back to your 24-year-old self, what would a world look like in which everyone's virtually the same age and that you're going to see your doctor who's been practicing medicine for 40 years and he looks the same age as you and then your parents look the same age as you? It's a very fascinating concept, right? Of just having everyone virtually at their peak and how you're going to recognize what was easy strata to identify as a source of wisdom and stuff. Have you thought of that aspect?
Probably not as much as you have. What I find is that, first of all, it's been really heartwarming that in the last few months, the world has shown its respect for older people. That's been a revelation, which is great. But I think it's going to be even bigger than that. If older people in their 80s, 90s, and 100 are still as healthy as the young people, still playing tennis, hanging out with their great-grandkids, then we're in a world similar to the line at LA where you can't tell how rich somebody is. In a world where you can't tell how old somebody is, then you don't have this ageism, right?
Yeah.
We currently look at someone who's shuffling along and go, oh, God, kill me when I get to that point. That's not nice. Speaking of the brain, one of the experiments we're currently doing is asking if you turn back the age of a brain. So we're going to take an old mouse that's lost its memory, has dementia. If you reverse aging in the brain, what happens? Do you lose your memory? Do you gain?
Right, that's exactly.
Or do you regain lost memories?
Yes.
Yeah.
And really quickly, again, going back 25 years since I learned this, but I was told that there was somatic cells and there was gray cells, and that your brain was these gray cells that didn't go through mitosis and didn't replicate, and the ones you were born with are the ones you were going to have for life. Is that still the belief, or do they do more than we thought they did 20 years ago?
They do grow. So there's neurogenesis, but not in large parts of the brain. It's usually only in the center section. So you can grow new nerve cells, but you're not going to be able to grow enough to replace, all the damage that's occurred over 80 years. So I think we need a treatment like I'm talking about, where every nerve cell in the body remembers how to read the genes to be a nerve cell and wakes up. So the treatment that we did for the eye, so the eye is an extension of the brain and part of the central nervous system. So if we can turn the clock back in the retina and the optic nerve, it should work just as well, I think, in the rest of the brain. And that's what's exciting.
Well, this must be very exciting for like spinal cord injury people, because that's, again, the material we thought we couldn't really grow back, or limited options there.
Exactly, right. So one of the experiments was to pinch the optic nerve, and we saw it grow back to the brain. And the same thing we hope will happen in spinal cord injury. But maybe it's even bigger than that. Maybe one day, if we have our finger cut off, we'll apply this technology and you'll get you a new finger to grow back.
So if you're going back, what if you go back to like a 15-year-old brain, which is not fully...
Oh man, God forbid.
Exactly. So then would it develop again?
Well, yeah,
This feels like
depends.
a sci-fi.
This is interesting. I haven't thought about this, but what if your brain starts producing hormones like you're a teenager again?
Well, I was just going to say, I
Right.
do miss the horniness. As much as it was
No,
blinding.
we don't need any more of that. We do not.
Right.
But having your brain develop over and over and over again and releasing more chemicals over, that's crazy.
Well, we will
And
see.
bad?
I think in our lifetime, we'll be able to know the answer to that.
Okay,
Wow.
here's another one I thought of on hour 100, which was, okay, this technology exists. Everyone has access to it. You don't have to die. It is unexpected for you to die of a virus, of, any of these numerous ailments that this technology could prevent. In a world where the expectation is you won't die, does it change our relationship with death in that? And then I thought of this in a very selfish way, right? Let's say I had the procedure and my wife was like, well, you now can live to 250 years old. And if you keep riding motorcycles, you can't do that. Like, now it heightens all this acceptable risk we take on, because we live in a paradigm where we have a life expectancy and we expect to die of diseases. So you put motorcycle riding into that equation, you're like, yeah, well, I'd rather die from that than cancer. But now when all those are off the table, do you think it'd make people hyper neurotic about dying through accidents because there'd be an expectation of longevity?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, just look at what's happened over the last 100 years. People didn't care so much about protecting their kids and whatever. Now, because kids are expected to live for 80, 90 years, we put them in bubble wrap. I think the same would be true. If we lived forever, we'd be scared to cross the road. It'd be that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
I really think so.
And it would feel like a much deeper loss, too.
Yeah, because
Yes.
it didn't have to happen. And it would be irresponsibility. So there'd be this moral character judgments, right? If I kept riding motorcycles and I'm like, well, that guy's a selfish asshole because he could live to 500.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
We are supported by HP. If you're a parent or you know one, like I do, or you can help take care of kids, you already know what August feels like. It's not summer anymore, it's the pregame. The supplies list, the forms, the "we need this printed by tomorrow" texts that come in at 9 p.m. And I say this as someone who's been on the receiving end of those texts in a former life. You're ready to help, and then the printer says no, out of ink, blinking at you, useless. It's such a small thing, but it will absolutely derail your night. So when I heard about the HP Smart Tank printer from HP, America's most trusted printer brand, I thought this is the kind of thing that actually makes life easier, not in a big flashy way, in a one less crisis way. Instead of those little cartridges that run out the second you need them, the HP Smart Tank uses refillable ink tanks, and it comes with up to 3 years of ink included. 3 years. That's 3 back-to-school seasons without the cartridge panic. HP can't fill out the forms for you, but they can make sure the printer is never the reason you're up past midnight. Search HP Smart Tank.
We get support from Apple Gift Card. Back to school is here, and for many, that means some big life transitions. Whether they are heading into a new grade or setting up a dorm for the first time, you want to give them something that actually supports their growth and success. Apple Gift Card is a versatile solution because it takes the guesswork out of gifting. It's not just about a new pair of AirPods for focus. It's about giving them the invaluable chance to choose the digital tools and subscriptions that suit their unique journey. They can use it for productivity apps on the App Store, movie nights on Apple TV, or extra iCloud storage for all those new memories. With Apple Gift Card, it's so empowering to give the students their freedom to allocate their own resources. Celebrate their new academic chapter. Visit applegiftcard.apple.com to celebrate their milestones and gift one today. This episode is brought to you by SoFi, the all-in-one finance app where you can bank, borrow, and invest all in one place.
Let's talk bank accounts for a second. The average bank savings rate is 0.39% in interest. You're earning pennies on your savings, but it does not have to be that way.
With SoFi high-yield checking and savings, the money barely making moves sitting in your savings account can earn over 8 times the national average savings rate with eligible direct deposit.
No account or overdraft fees, which feels rare these days. You can get your paycheck up to 2 days early, perfect for getting ahead of a bill or grabbing what you need right when you need it.
Plus, get up to a $300 welcome bonus when you sign up with eligible direct deposit. Sign up for SoFi checking and savings at SoFi.com/armchair. SoFi checking and savings is offered through SoFi Bank N.A., member FDIC. Terms apply. This episode is brought to you by ServiceNow. Look, I have my dream job. I get to talk to folks I admire like crazy and ask them virtually any question that I want to. I can't imagine a better way to spend my time. But even dream jobs have some not so dreamy parts, the stuff that gets in the way of the actual work. Now, that's where ServiceNow's AI specialists come in. They don't just tell you what you should do about your busy work. They actually do it, start to finish. Cases closed, requests handled, no extra work for you. So you and your team can focus on what matters most, which for me is, are they obsessed with male bodies on the same level as I am?
They never are.
To learn how to put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com.
Also, like, what about suicide? Like, that will probably rise a ton because if you feel like this is literally forever,
I want to get off the ride.
I'm choosing to get off.
Right. Some people have said they may not get married.
Oh, this is the joke I've been saying to my wife, which is, hey, I'm going to be able to afford this procedure, and I promise I will live with you till you die of an old lady, but I will remarry many, many times after that. Just so my commitment to you morally is I'll be by your side till you die, but just know I will be off to the races after that.
That seems fair.
So I guess I'm wondering, do you guys invite in the super esteemed folks in your philosophy department at Harvard and and do any kind of like workshop-y synthesis of these different disciplines to wrap your head around what all the downstream effects would be?
No, not often enough. Occasionally, I debate bioethicists. I debated Leon Kass, who was President Bush's bioethicist and scientific advisor. And we clashed terribly. He thought that treating aging was abhorrent and would reduce the agency of life. And we wouldn't wake up every morning with joy. We'd just be lethargic. And I totally disagree. I don't get out of bed every morning because I know I could die. I get out of bed in the morning because I got stuff to do. I'm enjoying my life. I'm healthy and I'm excited about it. And that's going to be true if I'm 100 or 200 or whatever.
My gratitude is not rooted in the inevitable death I'm going to experience.
No, we could all die tomorrow. That's enough motivation. Look the wrong way crossing the road. But it's an incredible thought that we may be able to have multiple careers and multiple lifetimes. And for people who make the wrong choices when they're young and go and do the wrong career, if you have extra time, yes, reinvent yourself at 60.
Yeah, the panic and people throwing in the towel and all these things we think of being it too late. I like the notion of that being off the table.
Right. And if you've been breaking rocks either physically or metaphorically your whole life, it's not fair to expect someone to keep doing that for another 50 years. But that's why I think we should have the chance to start again and have a skill batical kind of thing where you're allowed to take a couple of years off, maybe paid to go and learn something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, the system will need to evolve with this technology. Because if we live in our current system with this, I do think it's going to be disruptive.
Yeah.
So the whole thing has to evolve.
Yeah, actually, the most exciting thing for me is that I might outlive all my enemies.
Sure. Are they numerous?
I have a list of people that I'm not fond of. There's about 10 of them. But generally, I forgive people. I don't have a lot of enemies. I think we're all in this together. It's a hell of a ride. It's difficult. And, we got other problems than to hold grudges. So I don't think I have a lot of enemies. I have a lot of people who, in science take pot shots at our work. That's what we're paid to do as scientists. So, sometimes you take it personally, but as I've gotten older, I've realized it's not personal. It's just business.
Yeah. That's the underpinning of peer review, right? You're not doing your job if you're not critical of everyone else's research and claims.
Yeah, but it's a tough career, especially when you're young, similar to your career. As a young scientist, you don't know if you're going to make it. And at a place like Harvard, your chances of staying are probably less than 30%. And you have to be the best at what you do. And every time somebody writes, oh, Sinclair's full of it or whatever, it really hurts because you could lose your job, lose the city you live in, you have to move. But once you get tenure, which means you cannot be dismissed, that's a wonderful thing because all of that fear of getting kicked out goes away and then you can just dream up this crazy stuff. And actually, George Church gave me the best advice of my career. He said, once you get tenure, just do the stuff you want to do. Just do it. And that's what has led me here. I'm just doing what I want to do rather than what I think I should be doing.
Yeah. Well, I am so grateful you're doing it. Now, have I not thought of a moral conundrum that you want to bring up? Is there one that vexes you? Like, I don't have a great response to that problem it'll create.
Not really. I'm a glass half full kind of guy, and I think humanity can solve any problem it puts its mind to, whether it's social or economic or medical. I think the biggest one is that people may become more politically one direction the older they get.
Well, look how disheartening COVID was. It only had about a 2-week window where it was apolitical, and then everyone lined up, which was so discouraging.
It is. So I'm thinking of how I'm going to do an experiment to test whether a mouse becomes more right wing or left wing, and then reverse the age and ask it to vote again.
Well, I have to imagine people are more liberal in their youth and become more conservative, right?
They are. So a world with a lot of older people may be more conservative. But then again, if you have your brain reset, who knows?
Yeah. And if your journey's not over, if there's things that are ahead of you, that alters all the things.
Well, here's one of the benefits, which is if the politicians today were going to see the 22nd century, I think they'd pay more attention to climate change.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I totally agree. Now, the question you hate the most, I got to ask it. It's my responsibility. What is the window of this happening? Like, if you had to say, how many years out is this? Is this something I'm going to be able to do in my 50s, or am I going to be doing it in my 70s? Where will I be at?
Right. Well, you're in your 20s right now, right?
Yeah, 45.
Yeah, you're doing great. So it's always dangerous making these predictions because drug development is so hard and things fail and the FDA makes things really difficult. That said, I'm more optimistic than I've ever been. And why is that? It's because it's not just me working on this. There's hundreds of labs and dozens of companies who have different approaches to longevity and aging research. And so I think somebody's going to break through within the next probably 5 years. In terms of total age reset, well, the timeline that's been set is, so I started a company. We've been working for a year on reprogramming the eye. And hopefully within 2 years, we'll have some results as to whether it works or not. Then it could expand, start reprogramming the skin or the liver or the kidney. Eventually, I hope within 20 years, we'll be able to reset large parts of our body, if not the whole thing.
I hate to keep drawing these parallels, but I keep seeing them. So you're very much like a movie director, writer-director, whereas I spent 2 years of my life writing and directing this movie, and then literally I'll find out on a Friday whether it was a total waste of my time or it was the best thing I could have done. It's very rare scenario where someone would dedicate that much time, and get potentially an unfavorable outcome.
Yeah, well, that's why we need to live longer, because it's hard to have these failures, and there's a lot of work to do, both in your industry and mine. But it is true. It really is true. Sometimes I freak out because we work for 10 years on a project, and then you send it into the journal to be reviewed by your peers, and then it comes back and gets rejected, and you think, what other profession do you work for 10 years and get a rejection? It's tough sometimes.
It's really an all or nothing endeavor. The rewards are huge and the downside is also huge. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's one of the most exciting things happening in science. I'm so fascinated with this, and I constantly bring up that 60 Minutes, and people are, in my experience, just generally unaware that any of this stuff is happening. And I think it's best that we start these debates now so that we have some sense of what our ethical blueprint is once it hits the marketplace, as opposed to reacting to some things that pop up.
Yeah, 100%. That's also why I wrote the book, is to start the discussion now. But what's really helping are guys like you two, getting information out directly from scientists and big thinkers. We used to live in a world, even just 5 years ago, where you'd go to a newspaper and newspaper reporters couldn't report about stuff until it was fully published. Whereas now you can speak to me and I'm saying, hey, scientists don't even know this stuff yet. I'll let you in on a secret. I love that world that we can now, bounce between the public and our ivory tower.
Oh yeah, the world of the middleman is evaporating, and I no one's more excited about that than me. Even the notion, that there's no intermediary between us recording this and it being in people's ears. There's no corporate board. There's no, that part's pretty great.
And so I love podcasts, and I rarely talk to newspapers anymore because I found that every time I said something, it would get twisted or hyped up, and my colleagues would be mad at me for saying we're going to live for 200 years. And I would say, I didn't say that, and it doesn't matter. It's out there.
Yeah.
And so old media is just frustrating as hell.
That's my greatest frustration, and increasingly with my publicist, I'm like, I don't want to do anything print because it's going to pass through their filter. No matter how I present myself, it has to go through the filter of their body before it comes out their pen or their keyboard. And that's just a lot to risk when you've dedicated so much of your time and life to something.
And they're incentivized to have that be a flashy thing.
Clickbaity economy,
Yeah.
So true. I worked on my career for 25 years, and some jerk can come along and, like in your situation, just write something that makes you look really bad, and you didn't even say that. It's not worth it, right? 25 years is a long time to work on a reputation. And then they move on to the next story and don't care. That's happened a number of times in my career. So I applaud what you're doing. Thank you for showing the world what's possible and allowing people like me to talk directly to people.
Yeah, well, this is forever at your disposal. Anytime you think there's info that people need to know, please let us know. And we would love to have you back as many times as you'd like to come back.
Thanks, Dax. And thanks, Monica.
Thank you.
All right, well, be well. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman.
We are supported by Arm & Hammer toothpaste. I feel like so many parts of our lives have gotten a little overcomplicated, including toothpaste. There's always some new ingredient, new promise, new thing you're supposed to suddenly care about. Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste keeps it simple. Powered by baking soda, a time-tested ingredient you already know and trust for a clean you can actually feel. It removes up to 3 times more plaque in hard-to-reach areas compared to a leading toothpaste, and it gently whitens. And if you hear baking soda and think, wait, is that gentle enough? Arm & Hammer is actually a less abrasive toothpaste, and it is designed to protect enamel. Myth busted. It's also the #1 dentist-recommended baking soda toothpaste. I am a broken record on Arm & Hammer toothpaste. I love it. I've been using it for years and years. My dad first introduced it to me, and I've never gone back. I've also gotten a lot of people on it, and once you go to Arm & Hammer, you won't regret it. My personal favorite is the Arm & Hammer PeroxyCare toothpaste. It improves gum health while gently removing plaque and surface stains, but also just my mouth feels so clean after. They have so many. They have advanced white toothpaste, which is great. I also use that. Complete Care toothpaste. Everything is perfect. Try Arm & Hammer toothpaste to taste the difference. Feel the difference. Shop at your favorite retailer between August 2nd and August 15th to save $1.50. Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste. Save $1.50 August 2nd through 15th.
We're rolling, Monica, so don't do that.
Ew. Don't do that. Oh, okay. I'll stop farting really loudly
Monica.
right into the mic. You're disgusting. You disgust me.
Oh, you know what I really like?
What do you like?
Michaela Cole, and it's I May Destroy You
Yes.
on HBO. We
Yes.
are obsessed. We love it.
Oh my gosh. We have so much housekeeping because that's old news.
That is old news, but it's new news because I didn't know anything about her. And Joy Bryant, our good friend Joy Bryant, forwarded me an interview with her in Vulture that was so phenomenal.
It was.
It was really top notch. And she basically says in there that the world can be divided into 2 people. The people who like talking about poop and people who don't. And she's in the liking to talk about poop category. And I was
my
like,
gosh.
oh, she's a shoo-in to be on this show.
Oh my. She's made for it.
I'll do 2 hours on poop if she wants to.
We talk too much about poop,
No, we
but
do
now
not.
I know that we don't.
That's right. Well, honestly, I
feel
felt a little
better.
better reading that someone I assess as being a genius
Yeah.
talks about booty.
We should tell people about Pootie.
Okay, so we had puppies for a while, 2 weeks or something. 3 pups? How many puppies?
3 pups.
3 puppies.
They were so cute.
They were really cute. And then when they would take a shit, it was a baby poop. It was a puppy poop.
Yeah.
So it was kind of runny and a mess.
And stinky.
And it was very stinky and very specifically stinky. And I started referring it to Pootie. Like, I thought, does anyone smell Pootie? It just felt like it would be right to call it that because of the dog. And we were really going off on saying Pootie a lot.
Yeah, we're like, oh, I think this Pootie might be in my shoe.
Uh-oh, someone got Pootie on their shoe. And then we got to talking about that. It sounds really gross.
It's pretty much the worst word you could possibly
yes.
think of for poop.
And I'm going to have you explain why, because it will sound misogynistic
gosh,
if
do
I
I have
do.
to? Okay, I will.
Just you talking code.
Okay, the reason it's disgusting is because it kind of sounds like a mix between poop and also a female
Yeah.
erogenous zone.
Well, yeah. You almost said G-spot?
Erogenous G-spot. And
yeah, so we're like, oh,
the
it's kind
P
of
word, the P word.
Yeah, and it's combining poop with that word. There's
and it
something-
kind of sounds like maybe you didn't wipe well as a girl.
Yeah,
and
yes,
and there was a
yes.
substance that was made, and it's called pootie.
I'm so sorry,
I'm so sorry.
but not sorry.
Oh my gosh, all of our fact checks have been nasty recently.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's okay. Booty.
Pootie.
Booty, booty, booty.
That's Pootie. That's one of our housekeepings. Another is I got Jordans.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
First pair of Jordies.
Yep. You picked them out for me because you're a connoisseur.
I don't have an eye for a lot of things, but I happen to have an eye for Jordies.
That's right. And you picked them out. They're Animal Instinct 2.
2.0s.
They're gorgy. We bought one for you and Kristen as well.
They're sick. As soon as I got them for
Sick.
you, I started looking for them for me, and then I couldn't find them. And then, like Gift of the Magi style, you found them for me. So
Yep.
really, you didn't get a free pair of Jordies.
Yes, I did.
Well, it's kind of a push.
No,
It's a push.
that's fine.
Mine were probably even more expensive because the
Well,
size
let's not
wasn't
talk
available.
about it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. And there is something so special about that box arriving, especially now that I've watched The Last Dance. I feel even more connected to him than ever.
Well, and I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were going to kind of just get your shoes out. And I was like, no. This is
Yeah.
a thing. You get the box with
Yes.
Jordan in the air and you stare at it for a second.
yeah, you wanted me to like really savor it. And I
Eventize
did.
it. Yeah. And build.
And the 23 number is all over the little packaging. Oh,
And then you crack that top and it fucking,
yeah, it stinks.
oh, it's stanky like a Jordan. And only a Jordy stank like that. And
Oh,
it is
yeah.
delicious.
Oh,
It's really the funnest box to open, I
it
think.
is. It was really fun. And I love wearing them. Okay, another update. We're in Sedona, Arizona. That's a rhyme.
And gang, get in your car and go to Sedona.
Oh,
I had
my
never
God.
been here.
Me
and
either.
It's outrageously gorgeous.
It's so unbelievably beautiful. It does not get old. We've been here for about
9 days, 10 days.
yes. And it is not old.
And we're
Like,
not on vacation, okay? We're not like vacationing during COVID.
No, we're not.
I'm working. I'm shooting Top
yes.
Gear
And we wanted to still be able to record a bit. So
Yeah.
I came and the family
as a commitment
came.
to you, the listener.
That's right.
That's right.
And the family came.
So if you're mad about Pootie, now you should be even about this.
The family came and we're all here and it has been so wonderful and beautiful.
I'm not going to go so far as to say I've like felt the energy vortex, but I will tell you I've been content,
Yeah.
at peace.
Yeah.
My mood has been so good the
Yeah.
whole time I've been here. Definitely a notch above what my mood
I
normally
think
is.
me too.
You too, I think.
Yeah.
In fact, everyone here.
Well, I'm also on
Oh.
antidepressants.
Huge house cleaning. And this will
Oh.
really embarrass the fuck out of him.
Okay.
We got here day one.
Oh,
There's a
yeah.
huge mountain behind the
That's
house with some dangerous rocks to climb. And Eric said, "Did you climb that?" And I said, "No, I had this terrible experience climbing something like that in Joshua Tree, and I was stuck, and I thought I was going to have to get airlifted. And then my friend Scott Johnson rescued me, and I was on the verge of tears. It's the scariest I've been since I was 5 and got lost."
Yeah.
So I tell this long-winded story. People leave during it. It's too long. And then the next day I go to work.
Yep, you sure do.
And I go down to Phoenix and I start getting videos sent to my phone of a helicopter circling the mountain behind our house. And I'm like, what, why are they sending me these big dealers? A helicopter, there's 1 million in LA in the sky. Then I start thinking, that helicopter must be looking for somebody. And then I thought, if anyone in our group is lost, it's Ryan Hansen. And it was not that he was lost. It was that he climbed up into this very precarious situation and he used a rope. And when he got to the top, the fucking rope snapped. And he
Well,
was
no.
trapped.
Let's be okay. This is what happened.
I'm trying to dress it up for him a
I
little
know.
bit.
Well, I'm going to tell the truth.
Okay.
So I'm on the porch.
Yeah, this story's not about you, but go ahead.
It's actually not about you. You weren't even there. I'm on the porch, and they come out.
What if you go?
Come out.
So I had eggs for breakfast.
So they came out and they were like, "We're gonna go on a hike," and they were like, "We're gonna try to hike up there." And I looked up there and I thought, that is the dumbest thing.
It's trouble.
Well, I was just like, that's so dumb. Like, you're going to try for 5 minutes. You're not going to make it. It's going to be dumb. And I made a joke about 127 hours.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, so you kind of jinxed them.
No, I'm just smart and predicted what was about to happen.
Okay. Or
So, no, I didn't.
some people call that a
Okay,
jinx.
whatever. And then 3 of them went. Ryan, his wife Amy, and our friend Molly. And also, we've had a few disasters this year, personal disasters amongst the group. Molly has
I've
been
had surgery. I fell off a cliff.
Okay,
Molly.
well, I'm actually not counting either of those.
Oh, that's weird.
There was
Those are the most significant
Oh
things
my
that went wrong.
God.
But go ahead.
There was a seizure. There was a dog death,
Oh
and
my
now there was
God.
this. And
You're right.
those are the huge ones.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And Molly has been there for every single one. We're starting to think she's a little bit bad luck. She's also AI robot.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, they left and they had been gone a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to shower. I came out. Eric said, "Did you hear?" I was like, "No."
Did you hear?
Oh, they're stuck up there and a search and rescue is coming.
Oh.
What?
Oh my
So then I
God.
immediately look at my phone. Ryan has tried to call me on WhatsApp. We have zero service in Sedona, Arizona. So he's tried to call me on WhatsApp. I call him back. Amy answers. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
She said, yes, Ryan climbed up this one part. There was a rope there. And he was like, oh, I think I can go. And so he started climbing it. And then it snapped.
Yeah, well, he was almost at the top.
He was almost at the top and it snapped. And he caught himself.
He was in this crevice,
Luckily, because it was literally a life or death.
It was 100 feet on one side and like 30 to 40 feet on the other side.
Yes.
And he could only stand on one
That's right.
foot.
He was bouncing. So I said, oh my gosh. She said, yeah, search and rescue's coming. So then we flew our drone out. Eric had a drone.
We sound insane.
We are insane. Eric had a drone. It didn't
Do some recon?
It had half battery.
Oh, gee, of course.
So we couldn't get very far. But we did see the search and rescue people, but we couldn't find them. Then I called her back. She said, yeah, I guess a helicopter's coming.
From Flagstaff.
2 hours goes by.
Oh.
Ryan is on one foot in a crevice.
Oh, my God.
For 2 hours. I keep checking in with Amy. She's like, he's okay. He's panicking a little. The girls are fine. They're not stuck. And she's like, he's panicking a little. And every time she said that, I was like, uh-oh. Like, what if he passes out? Because he's freaking, oh my gosh, it started to get so scary. Finally, the helicopter comes. We're like, yay! And even still after the helicopter comes, it's like 20 minutes before we see Ryan's tiny body hanging from the helicopter on a rope, just soaring through
We've
the
all
air.
seen this image. You see it on the news once a year.
He was airlifted out.
Oh, my God, on like 100-foot rope.
Oh, my God. It was something.
Yeah, it's been a big year.
Anyway, but with my Jordans, I almost dropped them in a lake and I was very upset.
Yeah, we hiked to a cool river to
And I almost dropped
Oh,
them.
there's a
It was
little
disgusting.
little pro tip I would like to give out. Anytime you get to a new city, Google best swim holes in.
Oh.
I swear, almost everywhere I go ends up having some like 10 secluded swim holes, and they're always great.
And you know what we've learned? I'm not a very adventurous person. Did we learn it? I already knew it.
Did you
but-
admit it, or did we learn it?
Oh, I don't need to admit it. I feel totally confident in that because people get airlifted and people are getting hurt. And
Well, you do have such a paradoxical personality because, you know, you were also a high flyer.
for sure,
You have all these elements where you're a total risk taker, and then some that you're not. It's inconsistent,
with the high flyer, I don't consider it a risk.
which is so stupid. That is
No, it's
way
not.
more dangerous than any car stuff I
There's
do.
preparation before you get up in that air.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right.
All right.
Moving on.
Okay. Next thing.
Okay, David,
Davey.
you loved this. And so did I.
Oh my God, I loved it.
Y-
I
yeah.
mean, if he's not completely lying, I mean, I really believe this is going to happen.
I hope so. I mean, do I? Like, I
Yes, if
also-
you don't like it, shoot yourself.
Hey.
What?
Hey.
That's the solution.
No, that is what I brought up. I said, I think this might lead to more suicide. And I don't like that.
Well, why would it lead to more suicide?
Because if you're living on Earth for 400 years,
Yeah.
if you're 100 in and you're like, this thing fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And I have 300 left, I'm done.
Well, but I don't even think we can call that a suicide. I mean, anything past 100, we got to label that something else. You were supposed to be dead anyways.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I just.
That's not a loss.
Yes, it is. If you could
If
have
so-
300, okay.
If a
you're that
200-year-old man shoots himself, you think that's a loss?
If I'm that person's kid and I could have 200 more years with them, yes, that's a huge loss.
Okay. Well, this person was a tycoon. No one liked him, and he only bought himself the procedure.
Okay, well,
Okay.
all right. There are a lot of ethical questions.
Oh, you betcha.
I mean, they don't. They don't stop.
What could be a bigger ethical question?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, because even after we were done with him, I kept thinking about it, and I thought, well, no, it was because we had all these kind of major Supreme Court decisions recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, if we live to 300 years, what are we going to do about the Supreme Court? We can't have those people on the Supreme Court for 300 years.
Well, although I got to tip my hat to them. They've been doing a pretty darn good job.
Of
So
course.
I've seen both sides. I've been more impressed than I've been disappointed.
But if you're on whatever side you're on of this political spectrum, like it's scary to think you have the same people making the
Forever.
decisions for 300 years.
Well,
think about how slow progress would happen.
They would have to put term limits on that instead
exactly,
of,
which would become more political.
yeah.
So Oh man, they just never stop. They never stop.
Well, the way you know it's completely unethical, it's just black and white unethical, because we all think, should it be available for everyone? And you go, no, that obviously we can't have 7 billion people live forever and have new babies. So that's a non-starter. So you go, no, I don't think everyone should have this. And then, do you think you should have it? Yes, I think I should have it. So you know right away that you're on real shaky footing.
Yeah, no, that's not. Are you wearing a mask right now around your neck?
Yeah, I found one in the miniature van. It's an eye mask, and I think I'm going to use it tonight.
Oh, it's an eye mask. Okay, got it.
Oh, you thought it was like a Dracula mask?
No, I thought it was a COVID mask.
Oh, no.
And I thought you were wearing it for like security, and I liked that.
I wear it at work. I'm a stickler.
I love it. Okay, so he said that with some of these medicines, they can increase life by a year for $7,000. And the peacemakers are $100,000, sometimes millions.
Pacemaker.
Yeah, because he's like making an equivalent.
Yeah.
So total.
I thought you said peacemaker.
Oh, I probably did. Pacemaker.
That'd be an ironic name for a bomb, wouldn't it? The peacemaker.
Oh, no.
Now you're seeing my right wing side. I brought up guns a minute ago, and now I'm talking about bombs.
I see your right wing side all the time. It's what I fight every day. What are you talking about? So I saw a few numbers. Total cost for pacemaker implantation range from $9,616 to $19,726, with an average cost of $14,290. For patients not covered by insurance, a pacemaker and heart assist implant can cost $19,000 to $96,000 or more, depending on the type of pacemaker.
That makes zero sense. Why would you get charged 10 times as much for not having insurance?
Well, that's
the price should be the
problem
price.
with the whole thing.
It's a racket.
I know.
It's almost like healthcare has gotten to the point that the derivative market in the stock market is like where there's only 3 or 4 people who can explain the product that they sell or truly understand the product that they sell. They're so abstract.
Yeah.
They're computer modeled. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so he said the age of the sperm has an impact on longevity for the offspring. And I could not find any backup on that. So just FYI, I could not find any backup
If that's true, I think we could immediately propose a theory that you're way better off if your parents were young when they had you.
Well, yeah.
Because when you're younger, you're either fucking or jerking off every day. You're not going like this old man who might go a week and a half without
and they're
jerking
just
off.
sitting there.
And
How long do they last?
I don't know, but I'm a great person to test it on, I think. My kids, they got me at a point when I would, maybe once a week. So these kids could have been made from 6-day-old sperm.
And you're saying that's good or bad?
Terrible.
Oh.
If I would have had them in my 20s, they would have had 2-hour-old sperm.
Right. But those old sperm die.
Well, he's saying, old can only be whatever, 10
That's
days
what
old.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
I wonder what the actual length that they can live is. Okay, it says most men make millions of new sperm every day, but men older than 40 have fewer healthy sperm than younger men. The amount of semen and sperm motility decrease continually between the ages of 20 and 80. Okay.
All right.
Okay, he said no man has ever died in childbirth. That is true from what I could find. There have been some trans men who've had babies.
But I'm going to propose also that a man has certainly died in childbirth.
Well, yeah, like a heart attack.
Yeah.
Like
watching it and then
I know.
keels over. Or a guy.
That's what I was trying to look for. I truly could not find any stories about that, but I'm sure it's happened. A stroke, a heart attack. Actually, I don't think this was childbirth, but I do have this horrible, horrible story. My friend's sister's friend.
You could have cut one of those sisters out.
No,
right?
no. I want to be true.
Okay.
So the mom, I think, was in the hospital or something. Maybe I want to say having a baby because it's pertinent to this, but I don't really know why she was in the hospital.
Okay.
But the dad rushed to the hospital.
Maybe because she was a doctor, you fucking misogynist.
She was not a doctor. She
could be if she's in a hospital and she's a woman.
This isn't a riddle we're living in, okay? The woman was in the hospital for a reason, and then the dad rushed to the hospital and then got run over in the parking lot. Yeah.
of the hospital.
Yes, because he was not paying because I think something horrible was happening with his wife or whoever it was.
We'd have to agree that's the most ironic
I
place.
know,
you
but
could
it's the
die.
saddest.
Yes, but
And then also, if the mom died, I kind of think that happened.
wait, now you think the mother died?
I think
Jeez
the person
Louise.
that was in the
I just
hospital
think
also died.
I just want to point out that you think the only way a woman could be in the hospital would be to be ill. And what I'm saying is that women are there as
That's not what I
doctors, you fucking misogynist.
You're
You couldn't even comprehend how a woman would be in there unless she wasn't
I hate you so
terminally ill.
No, I'm saying the reason the dad fucking rushed out of the car so fast and got hit by a car is because something horrible was happening inside. She wasn't a doctor. This is an episode of Grey's Anatomy. This is
I
real
think
life.
it might be.
Well, actually, I do think it might be.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. What percentage of people don't have the receptor for HIV CCR5?
Yeah.
It is estimated that the proportion of people with some form of resistance to HIV is under 10%.
Under 10%.
Uh-huh.
That's still a good chunk of
Sizable.
folks. Yeah.
I know.
How do you find out if you're that person?
You kind of have to risk it.
Well, I bet you could.
Maybe you could get tested for it.
I bet Eric Topol could have you the results of that in
He could do
seconds.
a body scan for sure. Okay.
That was it?
That's
Well,
our
what was the
fact.
last one?
It's just the last one is what's the chance of getting HIV? He said 1 in 1,000 or less. This is just hard.
Yeah.
It's a very hard one
Well,
to say
It varies country to country. It varies.
and it's like what's the chance of getting HIV if you have unprotected sex, or what's the chance if
Intravenous
someone
drug
has
user.
it? I know it just all gets very complicated to find out.
Yeah.
It
Because you have
is small.
0% chance if you're a virgin who doesn't shoot dope.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just so you can do some research if you'd like on that.
It
There's-
cannot be 1 in 1,000 or I would have gotten it.
There's well, you might have it.
Oh, wow. Measles talk.
Oh no.
I love you. I've had the best time out here. Don't try to rob the house. A, I have Ring and I'll see you. B, we'll be home by the time you'll hear this and I'll be there waiting.
That's right.
With my firearm.
Oh no.
Right wing.
Oh, gross.